In this video, we will talk about the first of the three newly introduced Windows 365 licensing optimizations in Nerdio Manager for Enterprise version 3.4. So there are several features that we will be discussing in a series of videos that are going to help you optimize the license usage in Windows 365 and thereby reduce the cost of your Windows 365 environment very significantly in certain situations. So the first thing to realize is that with a traditional Windows 365 deployment, like with any Microsoft 365 license, once you purchase the license, whether it is used or not, meaning whether it is assigned to a user and the user actually makes use of this license, that does not impact the cost, because once you purchase that license, you're spending money on that subscription on a monthly basis. And unless you actually reduce the number of licenses in the subscription or cancel it, the cost is still being incurred regardless of whether the users are logging in into their cloud PCs. What we found by looking at a very large number of virtual desktop environments is that the number of users who are entitled or authorized to use a cloud PC or a virtual desktop is usually much larger than the number of users who actually log in and use that desktop on a regular basis, which means that if we can somehow make sure that only the users who are using the license get assigned a license, that would mean that instead of buying a license for everyone who could use a desktop, could use a cloud PC, you can purchase a license for those that actually do use a cloud PC. So in this video, we're going to talk about the first of such features, and that is called Windows 365 License Auto Assignment. Let's jump into Windows 365 provisioning policies, and let's go ahead and create a new provisioning policy and go through the process from start to finish. So let's call this Win 365 License Auto Assignment Policy. We can select an image. So let's select the latest Windows 11 version. And under Windows 365 license assignment mode, we can either select a manual mode, which is the default previously to this version, where you can simply specify one or more Azure AD groups that are going to be authorized or are going to be in the scope of this provisioning policy. But what we'll do is we'll select automatic, which is going to allow us to set up a policy, an automatic policy that is going to determine who is going to get a license and who will not. Once we click OK, that is going to create a new provisioning policy and open up a new page called Windows 365 License Optimization. And there are several different settings. For the purposes of this video, we will work specifically with the license auto assignment. And then in future videos, we'll talk about unused license reclamation and inactive user license parking. But let's start out with this first license optimization. First thing to note is at the very top, you'd want to make sure that your license optimization configuration is turned on. If you turn it off, it basically makes it kind of manual assignment where you have to make sure to assign licenses to users manually and make sure that they are in the scope of this provisioning policy. But we're going to go ahead and turn it on. So the first section we need to configure is the notification and logging settings. And this is going to be important because there's going to be notifications of having too many licenses, too few licenses, kind of ongoing operations. So this is a mandatory section that needs to be configured. Here you would specify a linked mailbox to send emails from. Here you would type in the addresses to send emails to. And then here you would select the Log Analytics workspace. You can either choose an existing Logs Analytics workspace that may have already been created, or if you don't have one, you can simply type in, test Log Analytics, select Create. It will prompt you to select a resource group and a location, and it will automatically build a Log Analytics workspace for you. And the reason this is needed is because the Log Analytics workspace is going to be used to track user activity on their desktop. Once we have the notifications and logging section set up, we're going to move into our license auto assignment section. And this requires several prerequisites. So again, the goal of this is to avoid paying for unused licenses by assigning users a Windows 365 license only upon first login, which means that users who never log in will not consume a license. And from our analysis, we found that on an average in a large environment, about 60% of users are actually active out of all of the users who are authorized and who are given the ability to use a virtual desktop. Only 60% of those actually do use it on a regular basis. Then we have a highlighted box here with a link, which is going to be the link that the user will go to the very first time that they need to log in and obtain a license. When they go to this link, they're going to be assigned a license and they'll be able to log in and have their desktop automatically provisioned for them. This is necessary only when accessing the desktop for the very first time. And this could be any vanity link. So this is currently my demo environment, but you could configure this to be any URL within your company pointed at this address. And then when the user logs in with their Azure AD credentials, they will be given a license and the desktop will be provisioned. In order for all of this to work, we need to specify and tell the system which users, or more precisely, which groups of users are authorized to receive and access a cloud PC. So I've created a user called authorized cloud PC users, but there could be multiple users here. For example, I may have another group here, let's say customer support managers and my authorized cloud PC users. I can specify one or more groups that will contain users who are authorized to use a cloud PC. Now, these users should not already have a Windows 365 license because one will be assigned to them automatically. So in our example, let's just go with this authorized cloud PC users, and the system tells us there's currently one unique user in this group. Obviously, if there are multiple groups, it will deduplicate and tell us how many unique users there are across all of them. The second setting is to tell the system which is the security group that has an assigned Windows 365 Enterprise Cloud PC license. So in my environment, I've set up a demo group called licensed users or licensed cloud PC users group. And you can see there are no users in it currently, right? Because I'm just setting this up for the first time. And it has a two core, 8 gig of RAM, 128 gigabyte of storage, a license assigned to it, which has a list price of $41 per user per month. So what will happen when the users who are members of the authorized Cloud PC users group log into this URL for the first time, their user account will also be added to the licensed Cloud PC users group, which is going to apply this license to that user and trigger a PC to be a cloud PC to be provisioned for them. Now, there's a couple of notifications or a few notifications that we may find interesting. For example, we may want to know when there are insufficient licenses left in our Azure AD tenant to add additional users. So for example, we say here notify or do not notify, but we want to notify either once daily or weekly when there are insufficient licenses. That means if a user tries to log in and there isn't a license to assign to them, so they're a member of the authorized group, they are moved into the license or they're added to the license group, but there aren't any available licenses to assign, you will get a notification both in app as well as via email based on this configuration up here. And we can also notify the administrator when there are too many unused licenses. So what we can do is say notify daily when, let's say, 10% of licenses are unused. So we may want to keep a 10% buffer, but if we have more than 10% of licenses unused, then the administrator will be told via email, as well as an in-app notification that there are licenses that can be removed and money can be saved. And then finally, the third notification is all about deprovisioning. So if a user's license is removed or the user is removed from a security group that's in scope of the provisioning policy, their Cloud PC will go into a grace period mode for 7 days. And eventually, after 7 days, that Cloud PC will be deprovisioned and removed. This notification allows you to be notified when a Cloud PC will be deprovisioned within a certain number of days. So for example, we can say, notify me of any Cloud PCs that are scheduled to be deprovisioned in 4 days or less. And this again will be either a daily or a one-time notification on a per PC basis. So this is what I wanted to cover for part 1 of this video, which is license auto assignment. And again, to summarize, the concept here is authorize many users, but only assign licenses to ones that actually need them and actually take an action to log in to their Cloud PC. Be notified when licenses are running low, and also be notified when there are too many licenses in the environment that can potentially be returned and are no longer needed. In the next video, we'll talk about unused license reclamation. Hope you found this useful and look forward to seeing you in future videos.